We have been told that within that military support, it includes anti-aircraft systems and ammunition, which is badly needed by the Ukrainians at the moment with the current onslaught from Russia against civilian targets in cities across Ukraine. It also includes long-range artillery. Now, I'd remind viewers that long-range artillery is something that the Ukrainians have been crying out for almost 2 years. And it's important because this will allow them hit elements of Russia's logistics chain far behind the front line, including on the Crimean peninsula.
The Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, well, he made a surprise visit to Kiev today to announce £2.5 billion in military aid for the year 2024 to 25. That's an increase of £200 million in the previous 2 years. The PM signed a UK-Ukraine agreement on security cooperation with President Volodymyr Zelensky, committing the UK to provide intelligence sharing, cybersecurity, medical and military training, and defence industrial cooperation. And it comes just hours after the PM authorised RAF strikes against Houthi rebel targets in Yemen as Britain joined the US in Red Sea military action. Well, let's talk to Cormac Smith, former communications advisor to the Ukrainian foreign minister and former UK diplomat. Cormac, hello to you.
Henry, hello. It's lovely to see you again.
You too. Okay, so what about the scale and the scope of Rishi Sunak's pledge to Ukraine and its president? How do you assess it?
Well, look, it's hugely significant. I spoke to actually 4 friends in Kyiv before coming on, just to take the temperature. 3 of them senior diplomats, and we cannot underestimate the how important this is seen by the Ukrainians. He's the first Western leader to visit Kyiv this year. It is, as you just said, it's an increase of 200 million on what the UK has provided for the last 2 years. But you know, one very senior diplomat who asked me not to name him said it was starting to feel very, very lonely with the United States taking a break. But now with the UK, they feel greatly encouraged again. And, you know, the importance, and what I've been told by my diplomat friends from the start of this war, the importance of what the UK does is not just being the first consistently there with military support and with important weapon systems, but it's also the leadership that the UK is showing on the international stage to encourage others. And at a time, you know, when the EU are stalling, and we hope that will be sorted out, and the United States are stalling, both with sums in north of $50 million and 50 million euros. It's increasingly important that individual states in Europe act themselves. So hugely significant, but I cannot underestimate how welcome this has been seen in Kyiv tonight.
You said million, I think you meant billion, didn't you?
I meant billion.
Yes.
Sorry. It's an extra 200 million, but it's 2.5 billion.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, I've made that mistake before, Henry.
Sure. So I think we know why the funding is stalled in Congress. We know that there is some skepticism and that some lawmakers in the States want to link it to increased funding for border and migration on the border with the US and Mexico. But how do you explain what's happening with the European Union?
Well, you know, the European Union, a funding package of 50 billion euros was effectively blocked by Putin's proxy, Viktor Orban of Hungary, before Christmas. Now, I know the European Union is going to attempt to unlock that money again, but the way the European Union operates, if one member is capable of blocking a significant aid package such as the one which was attempted before Christmas. And I can't underestimate the significance of having Viktor Orban in Hungary, who is effectively a proxy of Vladimir Putin.
Right. Although, let's remember, he has been voted in several times by his electorate. So although he's populist and you might say he's too close to Moscow, in the end, he's been democratically elected by his people, hasn't he?
Well, you know, that's true. But then if we put it that, you know, Hungary represents less than 2% of the population of the European Union. So how happy are we that less than 2% of the population of the European Union are preventing such a significant step. And, I've got to say, Henry, with what I call political shenanigans in Washington, and as you quite rightly said, the right wing of the Republican Party, including Speaker Michael Johnson, seeking to tie this to Trump era and promises to build a wall on the southern border. We do know, and we can be pretty certain, if President Trump is to return for a second term, and that is not beyond the realms of possibility at the moment, we can be pretty certain that he will withdraw the United States from NATO, leaving Europe to stand on our own 2 feet. And at the moment, that would be very, very worrying. It is my view, and the view of a lot of my friends, that Europe should have put its industries on a war footing 2 years ago. We certainly need to do it now, and there has been some talk of that. But the average European state spends less than 2% of its GDP on defense. Russia, it has been estimated, is spending up to 40% of its gross domestic product on the war effort at the moment. It is a country completely on a war footing. So Europe collectively needs to prepare for what Mr. Sunak said today was likely to be a long war.
Indeed. And Cormac, let's go back to the British contribution, the British pledge outlined today by Rishi Sunak. How much of a difference do you think it will make during the period that Ukraine is waiting for more US and EU support?
Well, look, it'll be very significant because we haven't been given exact details, but we have been told that within that military support, it includes anti-aircraft systems and ammunition, which is badly needed by the Ukrainians at the moment with the current onslaught from Russia against civilian targets in cities across Ukraine. It also includes long-range artillery. Now, I'd remind viewers that long-range artillery is something that the Ukrainians have been crying out for almost 2 years. And it's important because this will allow them hit elements of Russia's logistics chain far behind the front line, including on the Crimean peninsula. There has been a resistance up to recently in giving long-range artillery. It was Britain again last summer who broke this logjam with the supply of the cruise missile Storm Shadow with a range of, I believe, 250 kilometers. And we know the Ukrainians have already made very significant use of that. So two of the weapon systems that we know are included is anti-aircraft stuff and long-range artillery. So again, this is hugely significant. But I would reiterate that the visit of our Prime Minister to Kyiv today is important, not just for the commitment of the 2.5 billion this year, but for the signal that it sends out to other international partners. And have no doubt, Britain has played a very, very significant role in marshalling other partners to get behind Ukraine, and I believe will continue to do so.
All right. Cormac Smith, a pleasure talking to you again. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on Times Radio. Cormac is former communications advisor to the Ukrainian Foreign Minister. It's Henry Bonsu on Times Radio.